All right, folks. Today I'm here with Pat Hiban. Pat used to be the top agent in the planet, and has Real Estate Rockstars podcast as a podcast that I listen to as a new agent. So, I've been on twice, thanks to Pat, and just used to eat up all the information. So I hit up Pat last night. Number one, he's spoken to hundreds of the top brokers and teams on the planet and different agents. And I really wanted content for my agents and for other agents, and just wanted to, get some insight from Pat, who I have tremendous respect for in the real estate game. So Pat, what's been going on, buddy?
Suneet, what's going on, man? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being my second guest, sir. So I'm super.
All right.
Yes. So what have you been up to during or before all this happened?
Yeah. Well, wow. Good question. I had my Real Estate Rockstars podcast, which I sold along with Rebus University back late last year. And I also, up until late last year, I would say I had a real estate team that was run by one of my longest running agents and partners, Mike Sloan. And I closed that down, and I just kind of simplified a lot of stuff, Suneet. I kind of sold everything, and then, I just wanted to sit back, and I live here in Folly Beach, South Carolina. I did something funny. They have these pedicabs that these people drive. They're like bicycles, and they have little carts in the back. And I always looked at them whenever we went out to dinner in Charleston. I said, man, that'd be fun to do, and you'd be staying in great shape, and you get up. And so happens I met a guy that worked at one of the companies doing that, and he set me up. And so before coronavirus, I was, 2 nights a week, I was getting out in downtown Charleston and giving people rides for tips in the back of a bike cab. And it was like one of the funnest jobs I've ever had in my life, with no responsibilities, no overhead, nothing. And so I was doing that. And then, of course, I have a lot of investments too. And I just kind of oversee the investments and kind of just switch them around, sell them, buy them, that sort of thing.
So that's awesome, man. Like it's like super rare in real estate to meet somebody who's almost like officially retired from like the whole darn thing, right?
I'm out, dude. I didn't even put my license in referrals. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, put in referrals. I was like, you know what? Psychologically, I just want it to be done. I want it to be over, finished, like a chapter that's done that, if I want to send somebody a referral, whatever, they can pay me for coaching, or I can coach them or something or whatever. You know what I mean? We can work something out, but or they could, whatever. But I just, it's like, it just doesn't feel the same. I just wanted my license to kind of fizzle away after 32 years of being a full-time licensed agent, and have it be done and be, the end of an era.
Wow.
Era. Not an error. It was definitely not an error. It was the smartest thing I ever did, for sure.
Congrats, dude. That's massive. So you've been hanging around the house for a while anyways, before any of this, right?
Yeah, a little, yeah. But, I have 2 kids. They're grown. They live in Washington, D.C., and they came up like 3 weeks ago, so they're living here now. I would say they were, when they first came up, we thought they'd be here for a week or something, right? But now it looks like they'll be here for, half of a year, maybe, the way this thing's moving. But both of them have jobs that enable them to work on their computers out of here. And we live in a beach town, so it's really kind of nice, if anywhere you had to be cooped up, it would be at the beach. So, I'm lucky with that.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. So we were talking a little bit prior that you were a highly productive agent in the 2000s when we experienced the market going sideways. So I really wanted to get your insight and comparison to what's happening now and where you see this going with just what happened in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? I think that like there's, the people that are in this now, I think you're certainly going to have a lot of agents like not come back from this. Just like they're just going to be like, yeah, I mean, one thing you're going to, I guess brokers are going to have to decide whether they want to forego the dues and the monthly charges and the shared miscellaneous and the fees and rents and all that stuff, right? On one hand, and if they don't, you're going to have agents that only sell like 1-2 houses a year be like, I'm not paying that, right? So I think you're going to have some fallout of agents, which probably could be a good thing because I think there's probably too many agents now, right? Everybody and their sister now is licensed. The strong are going to survive, right? Because, they're the ones that have, hopefully prepared for this a little bit and hopefully have a listing inventory or have some listings that whether they're still on the market or they've been taken off the market, they're going to sell, when we come out of this, and there's going to be commissions when we come out of this.
Yeah. So at my brokerage, we've lost 3 agents because of this, and 2 went inactive. 2 out of 3.
Yeah. And then we're just starting too,
Yeah. So what do you feel is going to happen to home prices?
I listened to this podcast the other day, and it wasn't talking about residential. It was talking about commercial, but the guy said, I wouldn't be surprised if every single piece of commercial properties were 20-25% less than it was before this happened. Which is interesting because commercial is a little easier to value than residential because it's all valued about the rents that you get. So if the rents aren't paid because the tenant is out of business or, a restaurant, or a nail salon or a yoga studio, which are basically closed, then the real estate is automatically worth, just like the podcast said, just overnight, you can blink your eyes and it's worth less, Now, that being said, residential is based on comps, right? This house sold for this much. So, that means my house is worth this much. And so the jury won't come out on residential until, people actually are putting their houses on the market after this. Now, what I'm afraid of is a rise in inventory based on people withholding their listing. Like literally, like if I was getting ready to put my house, if I had planned in January to put my house on the market on April 15th, I don't think I'd be putting it on now, right? Because I wouldn't want people coming in my house today. You know what I mean? You just don't want randoms walking in your house. So I'm going to delay that, and I'm probably going to delay it, let's say, till the fall, because, right, you're going to do the spring or you're going to do the fall. So you do the fall. So you delay it to September 1st, right, which seems logical. And then all of a sudden you have all these people that have delayed till September 1st. Now, if the buyers are pent up too, then that's a great market. You have tons and tons of transactions and commissions and settlements. And that'll be the best case, right? But the question is going to be, is the demand going to be there? Are buyers going to be like, I don't feel like it. What if another coronavirus? What if a mutation happens next year? What if it happens again? I got I'm behind on my bills. My credit is screwed up now because of this. The stock market portfolio is less because of this. Or I'm psychologically scared because of this. I don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen to buyers. Certainly the interest rates will still, hopefully are going to go down. It's crazy what happened, how they dropped it publicly, but then they went up, for anybody buying a house now has to pay a high interest rate. But nonetheless, I think hopefully that muddy situation will sort itself out. But still, they're still going to be low. Even if they're 4.5, they're still very low. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't know, man. I just don't know. It's going to be interesting.
What you said, man. See, this is why I'm talking to you right now. I have a ton of active listings right now. I have huge inventory. Showings are down about 30%, right? And I have a bunch of people who are waiting to sell for this to come out on the other end.
Right.
And none of them, and me as well, for their safety, I asked them, do you want strangers walking around in your house? And everybody says no, right? I have one repeat customer who had cancer, and her doctor said, don't leave the house. And come over, right? So, and they all want to sell around the same time. So if this thing lifts and everybody goes in the market at the same time, but then a lot of the buyers are maybe unemployed or their credit's gone worse.
Well, also, the lenders have toughened their standards. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, it's like the credit score now is jacked. It's above my pay grade, but they've changed a lot of things that make it harder now. They're making it harder, not easier.
Yeah. We had a couple people in escrow have to cancel because the loan program, like down payment assistance, is gone. Right. So people are canceling. I've had cancellations from people losing their job as well. Good jobs.
Right. That's another thing, right? Job losses, right? I mean, they said that, record high unemployment claims this week, and next week I'm sure it'll be even higher. I don't understand unemployment, but I don't think it's anywhere near your salary, right? It's like 30% or something, half maybe. So you can't qualify. I mean, you can't buy a house with it. Yeah, so you're just surviving at that point. And then the banks want to see 2 years, stability. So yeah, it kind of messes a lot of things up. And if you get laid off now, nobody's hiring, and no one's going to start hiring until September.
Yeah, that's
not
true,
yeah, less people are, let's say.
That's good insight. Yeah, I mean, I had to lay off a department, right? 9 people.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a lot of really relevant stuff. So, I mean, next question, if you were an agent now, how would you be spending your time? What's advice for realtors out there who are productive and looking to still make money?
Yeah, that's a great question. A neat thing that I did that I didn't do, some guy that I know did, I didn't even use him as a realtor. I just met him like 3 months ago. A guy in the beach town I live in has basically, he's been inviting me to these Zoom calls that are like get to know your neighbor Zoom calls. And I thought it was kind of neat in that, there's a lot of people that live here that I've never met before. I might have seen them walking their dog or something, but I just haven't accosted them and say, hey, what's your name? And so he's like, yeah, you can meet other people that live here and, do a Zoom call every Wednesday at 6:00 dinner time, sort of thing, which I think was kind of neat. And I went to one of them and it was kind of cool. I met a couple people and they friended me on Facebook that I didn't know before. And stuff like that, I think, is great. I think now more than ever, you should really be focusing on, what we talk about in my book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures, which is dollar productive activities, which are, the number one dollar productive activity that you could be doing now is prospecting. So I almost think that, if you have if you're going to work 10 hours one day, 5 hours should be prospecting, should be reaching out. Hey, are you okay? What have you been up to? Hey, do you want to do a Zoom call just to catch up? And if they say no, it's no big deal. But I think if you ask that of all your past clients, everybody everybody in your sphere, you're going to have probably 30% of them say, sure, when's good? And then they're going to, everyone's got free time, right? It's like me and you reconnecting, right? It's like you asked me last night. I'm like, sure, not doing anything, tomorrow afternoon I want to be around. I mean, might as well, catch up with you. So it's the same thing. And I think as an agent, it's a great opportunity to catch up and be top of mind as their realtor. Does that make sense?
Oh man, it makes total sense. And that's, that's what is resonating with a lot of people is just, just call everybody, right? And don't be a salesman, which is going to be hard for a lot of people, right? It's hard for me.
Well, but yeah, don't be a salesman. But the good part about it is even if you can't really don't have anything to sell them right now because the answer is like, we're not going to go out. You can't say, do you want to go look at houses? Or can I come over and tell you what your house is worth? Because you can't go over. They don't want you over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been leaving my house at all. I have 2 young kids, a 4-year-old and a 5-month-old. Scares the crap out of me to leave this place, man. So,
yeah.
You have kids too, right? So yeah.
I only leave to walk the dog or whatever, get outside. But I haven't. In the last 3 weeks, I've probably been in my car twice.
Same. I actually bought a car the day the lockdown started. It got dropped off here to my house, and I've driven it for 10 minutes.
Well, maybe you could go sit in it and at least learn it,
Yeah, it's got a lot of tech. Yeah, yeah. So what about, same question, but more looking at like broker owners and team leaders. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you give them right now?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question because I really wonder.
That's a selfish thing, right?
Yeah, right. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. And I've talked to some other podcasts and some other people about, real estate as from an agent perspective, but no one's asked me from a broker perspective. So I'm thinking back to what I may have heard. I know some of the chatter. I know that Gary Keller got on the line with all of his people, and I heard this through Daniel Ramsey, who but anyways, Gary Keller got on and said everybody immediately cut 30% of your costs. So I think that's an interesting statement, and I guess I would have to agree with that. And that's like as agents, we tend to subscribe to stuff like Boomtown and lead sources and anything to keep us on that hamster wheel. And some of it you can't do nothing with right now. You can follow up, but you can't do nothing with it. So so you probably should just start trying to. It's a great time to just massively cut costs or cut everything non-essential, right? Just so you can survive. I heard another guy say, think tactical, not strategic. And strategic would be like, how are we going to win the war? And tactical is like, how are we not going to die? And he said, right now is not a time to try to move the ball down the field. Right now is a time to kind of just be massive defensive and just be like, just your goal, right, is to make it through this and come out of this still with 20 active listings. And, and then once we're out of this, then you start moving the ball down the field with all these new listings. You know what I mean? And so I guess, going back to your question, as a broker owner or manager, probably a great time, just like with the agents, to reach out to all of your agents, or start with like your top 5 agents and just be like, hey, I'm gonna do a one-on-one Zoom call with the top 5, one at a time or together. You could do together. You could have a little mastermind right on Zoom with your top 5 agents, and then your next top 5, or whatever you want to call it, or all of your agents, all of your rookie agents, right? Or all of your whatever, and any group of agents, second year agents or part-time agents or whatever, anything. You could just have all these meetings with your agents, whether they're group or one-on-one, and there's no reason not to do tons of them, right, every day, because you got nothing but time, right? You're there, you're going to have your screen open anyways. Just let somebody else come in and be like, so what are you doing to get business? And then when they tell you, then hopefully there's something you could think of that they're not doing. You give them advice, and you'd be like, oh, Pat Hiban mentioned this guy Jeremy that lives in his beach town, that's having these little get to know your neighbor meetings. You should, on Zoom, you should do that too. And whatever, you know what I mean? You know how to do it. It's kind of a time to go back to the basics, but don't expect immediate gratification, right? It's a great back to the basics time, because you're forced to do it. It's like the old cliche, that says, sit in a corner and do what you're told. Well, right now we're all forced to sit in a corner, so it's much easier to do what we're told. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and it's comforting, because the first day that this happened, I called all 100 of my agents. About 70% of them were shocked, which made me feel good as a leader trying to give them support, right?
Yeah.
Then on my sales team, because I have the brokerage and the sales team was massive, 35 agents on my team or something, spending boatloads of money on everything. And I went down the list and just started crossing them off, right? So I really got the expenses down. But I still have 1,000 leads coming in a month, and we are transacting at about 50% of where we should be. Like, we opened 6 escrows this week. It should be, 50.
And that's interesting. Are you having any? What's going on with your title? Like, is there any issues there, or no issues? They're still able to get the deed and all that. That government offices haven't shut down.
So I'm in Sacramento, but I live in Yolo County, and that's where UC Davis is. I live in a town called West Sacramento. Yolo County is a more rural type of area, and the recorder's office has changed their policy that you have to walk in at 8 a.m. something. So that, like with the deeds, at 8 a.m. only is the only drop-off time. So when we were recording a bunch of listings on the sales, a lot of the buyers were delayed like 3 days just by getting the deed over to the recorder's office. They were
right.
a challenge. And people were freaked out about it, right? Like, I needed my house. COVID. Why can't I get my keys?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's what I would be worried about. But if they're still doing that, that's great. And if that's all, that process is going. I know the mortgage process is backed up. I don't. But at the same time, half is great, man. Because I would think, I wonder what May. I just don't know what May is going to be like. I don't. Half is really good, man. It means like people are buying stuff. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's an investor, and he had 3 listings, and he said, I'm putting these on the market now. I don't care. Now, they were all empty.
Yeah.
And he put them all in MLS, and 2 sold, like right away. So, like, I think, if you got an empty house, maybe the empty houses are the ones that it's a great time probably to sell an empty house, where sometimes it's hard to sell an empty house because it's not staged.
Yeah, so I put 2 on today, 2 on yesterday, 3 on over the weekend, and I got 9 offers on one of my houses over the weekend, Pat. 9.
So let me ask you, all the 9 people went and looked at it?
Vacant, yeah.
And it's vacant. There's no furniture.
No furniture. So, I mean, I don't know if you heard, you may not have, but I'm the Zillow Offers, I'm the Zillow Offers broker partner in Sacramento. So the listing inventory is good.
Oh, I think you might have mentioned. I can't remember. So does that mean that everybody that goes to Zillow Offers, um, and Zillow buys their house, then they turn around and flip it, let's say, and sell it? You're the agent that sells it.
And does the acquisition, yeah. So I process the acquisition and do the sale. It's not really a flip, but yeah, that's what.
You process the acquisition. So like, so Zillow says we'll give you 480 for this house, and if they say yes, then you go over there and or you talk to them about it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, kind of. Then I have an agent who just processes it, right? So, but that's on pause right now because no one could go into anybody's house. So we have that pause. But that's why I have quite a few vacant listings.
Fascinating. That's great, dude. Yeah, exciting.
Great. I mean, biggest opportunity for real estate in the country, I would say, right? I mean,
yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Man, you really, there's so much information from you always, dude. What else? What other advice?
I think that
like just normal like health. I know you're big into health and just
I think this is a good. It's weird. It's a weird time, right? But I think this it kind of changes everything. And everybody used to say, save for a rainy day, but now it's like save for a rainy year or half a year, or you know what I mean. I think it's really going to be a good thing in the long run because it's going to make people better savers. It's going to make people more conservative. Which is good. I think Americans in general are too liberal with their money.
Yeah.
But it's and I think a lot of people are also learning to not have to constantly move forward on stuff. You know what I mean? We get in that habit, right, of just like, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? And now it's like there's only so much you can do next. You know what I mean? So enjoy the time you have with your family and just enjoy it. I don't know what else to. It's interesting. There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? When stuff is ready to open back up, your politician will let you know, and that'll be that.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time greatly always. It was good just to see your face and hear your voice.
My pleasure. Thanks for reaching out, and let's stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, man. Cool.